Hello and welcome to this AVI on using the Novice Calibration wizard in SignLab. In this tutorial we will take you through the various steps required to produce your own media profiles on medias for which no print mode currently exists. If you are unfamiliar with print modes, then we recommend you first watch the Calibration wizard introduction tutorial. To complete a full ICC profile, you will require a specialized color reading device. In this example I will be using the Gretag i1, however the process is much the same regardless of which supported device you use, with the exception of a colour scanner. If you are going to use a scanner to create a new print mode, then have a look at a separate tutorial we have created on this subject which explains the extra steps required and the limitations of using this kind of device. Before you start your first media profile, you will need to install and configure your colour reading device. We recommend you do this by connecting the device and then using the drivers that are supplied on your SignLab installation CD-ROM. I am happy my i1 is fully installed and ready to use, so I can launch the Calibration wizard by going to the Options menu and selecting Novice Calibration wizard. If you have never created your own media profiles before, then we strongly recommend you first use the Novice wizard. However, if you have some background knowledge of the print mode creation process or have already used the Novice wizard, then we recommend you try out the Advanced Calibration wizard, which has less steps involved and will ultimately save you time when carrying out this task. The first window that appears provides some general details on creating print modes, and although most of the information here is explained in the introduction tutorial, we would recommend you read this section fully the first time you use the wizard. Clicking Next will give the option to choose between creating a new print mode or continue working on a previous mode that has already been started. If you've started and saved a print mode, you could return to it here by selecting the unfinished mode from this drop-down list. Okay, in this next window the choice of colour reading device can be selected. For this example I will be using the Gretag i1. Next, the printer for which you are creating a mode needs to be selected. Assuming you are using a current printer that's already installed, you will find it in this drop down. However, if you have not already installed the printer, you will need to exit the setup and install the printer in the regular way before returning to this part of the wizard. The next task is to select an initializing print mode. This print mode will be used as a starting reference point, so it's important it is as close in properties to the type of media you wish to calibrate, and it will also need to support printing with the same inks that you have currently installed in your printer. In this example I will be creating a media profile for a gloss white calendar vinyl at a resolution of 720 by 720 dpi. So from this list I'll select a current profile with as close to those properties as possible. The print modes are arranged by media manufacturer, media type and then resolution. With the start mode selected, I can now click Next. The next stage is to assign our new print mode a name. When naming the new print mode, it's ideal to develop a naming convention that allows you to quickly identify the type of media, print resolution and other printer specific variables used in the new mode. If you do not have a naming convention already, then it's strongly recommended that you use the current system already used by CADlink. CADlink organises its print modes into a hierarchy that indicates the printer model, inkset, media manufacturer, media category and media description. In addition, each print mode file is named according to the part number, print resolution and print quality. This example shows a typical print mode hierarchy along with how the print mode file name would appear. Using this system, I'm going to go ahead and assign a name for the print mode I'm going to create. In the next step, I have the opportunity to adjust the printer options. The settings here are printer specific, so will vary slightly from one device to the next. The current settings here have been defined by the starting print mode I chose earlier, but if needed they can be adjusted to better suit the type of media you're currently calibrating. The introduction tutorial on using these wizards outlines some of these settings and what they refer to, but for more information click this tab here and you will find a detailed explanation of the different options and how they may be set based on the type of media you want to calibrate and even more the specific job you have in mind for that media. The next step is to print out the first of the charts. So ensuring that the media to be profiled is loaded in my printer and ready to go, I can go ahead and click print. This will then send the job to my print and cut manager. With the job in the print and cut manager, I can now right click on the job and select print. Once your chart has been printed, it's important to check it thoroughly for any blemishes in the print, as this may cause failed or false readings when the chart is read by the I1. Another important point to check here is that the print is completely dry before you start to read it. Now I have this chart printed, I can return to the wizard in SignLab and follow the steps to read it using the I1. The device being used will have a bearing on the options presented in this window, so if you are proceeding with a device other than the I1, you may not have the exact view I have here. Clicking on this question mark symbol will give you some general guidelines on reading a chart with your chosen spectrophotometer, and we advise you read them fully the first time you use the wizard. When using the I1, I will first need to calibrate the device by clicking this tab here. Once calibrated, I can start my reading. When reading a chart with the I1, my method will be to scan each line of the chart individually. However, this will vary depending on the device you use. The X-Write, for example, works by feeding a complete chart through in one step. Whichever device you use, you will need to click here to start your reading. The I1 works by placing this plastic guide over the first line to be read. Now I can place the device over this white space to the side of the chart and then press and hold the button on the side of the I1. Once I've done this, this will emit an audible beep to let me know it's ready to start reading. Keeping the button held down, I can now move the device along the guide until I reach the white space on the other side of my chart. If the line has been read successfully, then the results will appear in the corresponding line in the on-screen chart, and you can proceed to line 2 and repeat these steps again. If a false reading has been acquired on any of the lines, the I1 will emit a warning tone and the wizard will instruct you to rescan that line. Regardless of what colour reading device is used to complete these steps, the basic process of reading the printed chart and then checking the results and rereading if necessary will remain the same. I'm going to continue now and read the rest of the chart with the I1. With this stage complete, I can now click next and move on to the next step, which is to produce a maximum ink chart. The max ink chart will enable me to determine the maximum amount of ink the media can handle before over-inking occurs. The chart is basically a series of identical images printed at different ink levels. With the chart complete, my final task is to examine the chart and decide which one of the images has produced the best results. The wizard contains some very useful information to guide you in the choice, and it's important you read it thoroughly the first time you create a mode. Essentially what I need to do here is select the image I feel has the best results without there being any signs of over-inking or bleeding within the print. Once I make a choice, I need only select the corresponding setting from this drop down. Once this choice is set, I then have the option to refine the choice by clicking this button here. This would allow me to print a second max ink chart that would have more variations of ink level on a scale between the two reference points I've just chosen. It's possible to continue this process until you find the best results. This process is based purely on the user's definition of what is the best max ink level. Once you are happy with your choice, then select it from the drop down and move on. Okay, I've now created a print mode for a previously uncalibrated media, and that print mode has now been placed in the list of print modes already in use for my chosen printer. One final point in this tutorial is to give you some brief advice on creating an ICC chart. This is the final step in the print mode creation and is taken to ensure that when you print an image using your newly created profile, you'll be able to produce a better colour match in your finished prints. The ICC creation process is simply a case of producing a final chart and then reading the results with your spectrophotometer in the same way we did earlier with the linearization chart at the start of the wizard. So I will now go ahead and click next, and this will send my chart to the print and cut manager. From here it can be sent and printed on my chosen device. Now I have the printed chart, it can be trimmed, and then once dry I will read it with the I1. The ICC chart will contain more lines than the linearized chart, but the principles are exactly the same. Okay, I've now read all the lines of my ICC chart with the I1, and with this complete I can now move on. SignLab will now give me a warning that the ICC creation process may take up to 20 minutes to complete. I'm going to say OK to this, and the process will begin. I have now successfully completed a new print mode for a previously uncalibrated media. These final windows offer a summary of the steps we have just taken to arrive at this point. Have a go at creating your own media profiles, and then with confidence move on to the next tutorial in this series on using the advanced calibration wizard, which has fewer steps and will ultimately save you time when making a new print mode.